Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I'm joined by Amy Canavan and Colin Watt to preview the Europa League group match against Real Betis. Welcome back, Colin. How you been keeping?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. Lots and lots happening on the go. So finding some time to come back and chat football with you, chat Celtic with you.
Absolutely. Yesterday we had the comeback kid, Kevin Graham, and today we've got the comeback king, Colin Watt.
Oh, that's a bit
harsh. You might even see Kevin later on. He's coming back in later on after the game, and hopefully he'll be in a good mood after a scintillating performance. We know the team. Amy Canavan, what are your first thoughts looking through that? Did we expect this? Are there any surprises in there?
I think it was probably as expected, bar maybe Soro for me. I think that's where I have my worries. I just feel, I think we all know that he is, how do you put it politely, he likes to go in for a tackle, doesn't he? So I'm a bit worried with a European referee in Spain, of all places as well. They like to hit the deck at the drop of a hat. So I'm a little bit worried about just his discipline. So it's a massive night for him. It's a massive night for Adam Montgomery as well. But I don't even think that's as much of a shock, because I think a lot of us probably predicted that. You know, he's really hit the ground running since he's came in this season. He's looked impressive anywhere he's really been placed. He's all over the shop. So it's going to be a big night for him to see what he's like a little bit further forward. But for me, the initial worries and the glaring maybe inclusion is certainly Soro.
Tell you what, just to touch on what Amy was saying there about the referee, I seen a thing, and it's a shout out to Pajan Bovril, who tweeted this earlier on. So the referee tonight's Fran Jovic of Croatia, and he's shown 35 yellow cards and a red card in just 6 games this season. So this could be an interesting one. If you're on the bets tonight, bet responsibly. But I think you're going for the points on the cards tonight.
Soro. Yes, if we're doing shout-outs, here's another one. Toronto, CSC. You might be watching this in a bar somewhere, and we are absolutely delighted that you're tuning in to A Celtic State of Mind. We're delighted that everybody is tuning in, and the comments are coming through thick and fast. We'll work our way through them. Just to pick up on the point on Soro then, he was one of the discussion points earlier on today when I was chatting to JP and Declan. The other option, of course, would have been McCarthy. Too much of a risk, do you think, Colin, having only played 3 substitute games for Celtic to this point?
Yeah, when I was looking at it, I think Ange is looking for a midfielder that's going to last 90 minutes. Because if you look at that front three, or the midfield three, they're kind of guys that after 60, 70 minutes, you're thinking, right, we need to bring someone on and change it up. Whereas, you know, at least Soro's got the energy to last the 90 minutes. McCarthy, we hope he's getting back to some sort of full fitness tonight. And we'll see him come on and play maybe 30, 40 minutes towards the end of the game. But yeah, you've got to go with someone that's going to run. And looking at the formation tonight, I think there is a slight change. I think we're going 4-2-3-1 instead of 4-3-3. So I think Soro will just offer that more defensive option in there. And then McCarthy could probably come on and shore it up towards the end of the game, depending on how it's going.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there about finishing the game, playing the 90 minutes, Colin. We've got Turnbull and Rogic starting today, and I've seen already quite a few comments coming in, Amy, in relation to the fact that they shouldn't be playing in the same team. Well, earlier on when I predicted the team, I kind of thought Rogic would be playing a number 10, Turnbull would be playing a number 8, and I thought McCarthy would be playing the kind of 6, the more defensive, deep lying role. Is it a concern for you that Turnbull and Rogic are in the same side, Amy?
Maybe initially, yeah, if you can maybe dissect it. But when you look at the bench, you're just like, well, there's really no other option. You're really then trying to start with a little bit of strength. And I know the worries, obviously, that neither of them really last 90 minutes. I just wrote a piece on it last week or the week before. But it's just highlighting the bigger picture here, the lack of squad depth and the lightness in Celtic's midfield. And it's went from a position where we were so strong in midfield and we were blessed with having so many whoever the manager was disposal. And now we're at a state of, wow, we're just sort of like scraping the barrel. And it's kind of, as Colin says, it's not the greatest that Soro's probably only starting because he does look like the one who could last 90 minutes. Especially, well, through fitness anyway, God knows about sending offs. But it is a little bit concerning. that neither of them can really or rarely seem to last the 90. I think there's more chance, if anyone, of either of them, if it being David Turnbull, that will last the 90. But it's a worry. It is. But can you really be surprised? No, because then I think if they didn't both start, it would maybe be going, well, Ange isn't really putting out his strongest 11, and he's perhaps holding somebody back. But look, it's a catch-22. I think we'd probably find ways to pick bones at it either way, if one was dropped or one wasn't. But I like what he's trying to do, start with the stronger 11. But like you say, it's tough because it's just, you look at that bench. I think we were just talking about before we came on. You're looking naturally at Liam Shaw, who's played more minutes for the B side than anything. And he's really the only other midfielder of sort that you'd think, right, could maybe come on. Or, of course, young Henderson. Other than that, there's not really a lot left.
But these guys haven't even had any minutes, Paul. Do you know what I mean? Like, the guy that's had the most amount of minutes on that bench at the minute is Stephen Welsh. And he's not somebody you're going to turn to try and win the game. Do you know what I mean? There's no options. If things aren't going right tonight, there's no plan B. There's nobody you can throw on there that with half an hour to go, you can say, we'll just go for it. Do you know what I mean? Who do you put on? Scales is probably one of your most attacking options on that bench.
When you look at it and the points that you've raised there, Barkas and Bain are there for emergencies, because how often have you seen a goalkeeper being subbed, right? So they're there if there's an injury. Scales has never kicked a ball for Celtic, neither has Shaw or Urhoghide in a competitive game. McCarthy has made 3 substitute appearances. Murray has played twice. 1 was a sub appearance. Henderson has racked up 10 appearances, and Welsh has 31. That shows you the dearth of experience we've got on the bench. And like you say, Colin, the worry will be if you do try to change the game, particularly in an offensive sense. I mean, McCarthy, yeah, you can bring McCarthy up to see the game out, as we've said before, particularly if Rogic or Turnbull are tiring. You can shuffle the pack that way. You've got Welsh if there's any injury on the right-hand side or in the centre of defence. But beyond that, we really are struggling. But I'll tell you what, if Celtic come away with anything tonight, Amy, it will be an absolute masterclass by Ange Postecoglou. Let's have a wee chat about some of the other selections tonight. Montgomery doesn't surprise you that he started. Really, the question was, does he start at left back or does he start further up the park? Someone earlier on, and it was a good point, mentioned the fact that it just shows you how far out the picture Bolingoli is. I mean, he's not even in the Europa League squad. That you would play Juranovic out of position before you would run with Bolingoli. You've got Liam Scales coming in, having just signed from Shamrock Rovers. He's your option on the bench should you've got any issue with the left back position. So let's talk about Montgomery. I've been very impressed every time he's played, to be honest with you. I don't think he's put a foot wrong, Amy.
No, absolutely not. He's been a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you. I think everyone is really getting behind him as well. It's the typical, academy young guy coming through and everyone wants to give him his support. But he's merited it. Every performance came on, gave 100%. Against Alkmaar, he was thrown in at the deep end, but I think he actually done all right. I think a few people maybe came in with a little bit of criticism that he got caught behind a few times. That's going to happen. He's just a young guy and he's still developing, not only at a domestic level, but even more so than on a European level, coming against a really decent side in Alkmaar. But it's a massive occasion yet again. But like I say, it's the reason that we're not surprised at his inclusion is because, I don't really know if I'd say in form, but he is one of the go-tos, so to speak. You look at that bench, there's nobody else you'd really go, right, I'd have them in ahead of Adam Montgomery. So he warrants this start, and he's earned it. So it's a massive night. It's a massive night for everyone, but at the end of the day, he's got to enjoy it. I think most people probably have heard Joe Hart's interview during the week, and he was like, what would your encouragement be or your advice to the younger players to go out to enjoy it? It's an honour to play in Europe. This is a massive occasion, so he's got to go and grab the opportunity with both hands. Who's to say he'll start, any other group games? But if he gives Ange Postecoglou a headache, that'll be certainly a one that he wants.
When a young player comes in, Colin, and you really do want them to succeed, you're looking around that bench there. Henderson came in. You'll remember Ewan Henderson coming in against Lille. He was almost the forgotten performer of that particular game because all the focus was on Turnbull and Soro. But Henderson was excellent that night. But he's, obviously he's been loaned out, etc. He's kind of fallen off the radar. Is he a player that, if there was any issue tonight with the fitness of, let's say, Turnbull or Roderick that you would maybe look towards? I mean, in terms of his Celtic career, only 10 appearances, that includes sub-appearances, but he's gone out on loan and he's played a bit of football. And when he's played for the first team, I don't think there's been any concerns about him.
Yeah, he's someone that you can rely upon to come on. He's not someone that you've got any concerns that you're saying, oh, you're throwing Ewan Henderson into this game. He's someone who's kind of proven when he's come on that he's slotted right in there. And as you said, that game against Lille last year, it was as if he'd been playing week in, week out, the way that he just slotted in. And he's going to give you a performance. But for some reason, he always kind of finds himself on the periphery of the squad. If there's a player to drop out, it's usually him. And I don't understand why that is, because the manager must be seeing something totally different in training to what we're seeing when he plays. Every time he's came in, he's gave us something. I don't think he's got much of a future left at Celtic, to be perfectly honest. I think if he was going to have made that breakthrough and be the guy that you could rely upon to play 15, 20 games a season, he'd have done it by now. And I think probably you'll see that he was only kept around to sort of boost the squad numbers. But in that sense as well, I don't understand why we've let guys like Scott Robertson go out on loan, even Leo Connor. I mean, you're sitting looking at that bench tonight. We've got an extra 3 or 4 spaces on that bench that we could have filled, but we can't. We're down to the bare bones. We're calling up Dane Murray from the B squad, Liam Shaw, guys like that you said have not played. So, look, it's going to be tough. We know we're without some massive players that have made a big impact already this season, but we are relying on the same sort of 15, 16. It's important that we try and keep everybody as fit as possible. Rotation's going to be key. And then in January, we have to really seriously invest and add 5 or 6 more players to that squad just to give us a chance of being anywhere near competitive this season.
This is a big frustration, and it keeps coming up. I mean, if you're looking at that bench, you can only start talking about the lack of investment or the speed in which we have or haven't done the deals. So you invariably start talking about the board, Amy. There's no way you can avoid it. Let's go back to the man between the sticks, Joe Hart. Hugely impressive. Couple of wee faux pas here and there. He's captaining the club. He's leading the side out. And I think the point was made earlier on, Amy, when I was talking to Dec and JP, that they didn't quite see Tommy Roderick being that man in the huddle, given the team talk. And I think that brought it home to me. He may have been, in terms of seniority, the next in line when McGregor was taking off his armband. But when it comes down to it, Joe Hart really is the obvious choice for captain tonight, isn't he?
Absolutely. There was a few when he first came in. There was a few fans who wouldn't have even been surprised. They were suggesting, he might walk in here right as club captain. Those who weren't perhaps so keen or didn't think that Cal McGregor could quite fill the boots of Scott Brown, they've obviously been proven wrong up until now. But there's no surprise that it's Joe Hart tonight. We all remember that moment, obviously, that I think he thought he was getting it, but McGregor was ordered to obviously give the armband to Ryan Christie. So you look at the rest of that side tonight. It's a young side, as in a new Celtic side. So you've got to turn to the experienced head, and that's Joe Hart. I don't know what his European appearances list is like. It'll be so high. It'll be probably about 70 or 80. I wouldn't be surprised. So it's a natural sort of step. There's no one else you'd really give it to. So he leads anyway. He doesn't need that armband, and I think that's what many people said when the armband did go to Christie. It's like Hart doesn't need a captain's armband around his bicep to be a leader. So it's the natural one. There's nobody else on there that I would really be giving it to. So it's a massive honour for him as well. And here's for a good night.
My biggest concern is the absence, Colin, of Callum McGregor. You were going to say something there, but once you have made that point, how big a loss is that to Celtic tonight?
I'll continue on that point. I was going to bring someone else up in a minute that needs to have a big game in terms of experience, and that's Albin Ayeti. Just when Amy was talking there about experience, this is a guy that's been there and done that in European football before. So you're looking for him to give us one of those performances like he did away at Lille last year. So that's someone that we need to see up their game tonight. But in terms of missing out Callum McGregor, I think he's someone who has surprised a lot of fans over the last couple of weeks. I think there was quite a bit of doubt going around as to what he'd be like as a captain. And then I think after the first game, when he got everyone together and you had the huddle at Celtic Park after the game, after the 6-0 win, and then you see him, he doesn't shy away. I think he's still got a lot to learn in terms of captaincy. When you look at Scott Brown and compare them, yeah, it's very early in his tenure and you can't compare the two like for like. But Scott Brown was that guy that was on the park that was speaking to the referee, was getting in his ear, was saying to him, that's 3 or 4 times that guy's fouled someone, and constantly getting the kind of decisions that you wouldn't normally get without having that influence. Now, that's not to say it's the right or wrong thing to do, but that's a captain's role. That's what he gets given the armband for, to be the leader on the park. I think McGregor's still got a bit of that to learn, and he will over time. But in terms of experience and him dropping out, that's massive. When you look at it, Soro's maybe only played, 2 or 3 games in Europe, not a lot. You're looking at David Turnbull, who has traditionally in the bigger games kind of shied away. You've seen it when we played Rangers, you've seen it sometimes in Europe as well. We need a massive performance out of him tonight. And Rogic, as long as you are controlling the ball, he will be the ideal player to be. But if you're going to be chasing that for 90 minutes, it's going to be difficult to see where he gets into it.
You know, we've obviously looked at the lineup, Colin, and you're looking at the shape of that. One of the points that Declan made earlier on is he hoped that Ange would stay true to his own philosophy and play the shape that he wants Celtic to play. That was a big criticism previously, Amy, under the likes of Brendan Rodgers. When you're coming up against certain opposition, sometimes you've got to play to your strengths rather than this open and expansive style of play. It looks as though Ange will play his game no matter who he's playing.
It looks that way. I was just talking to this about my dad earlier as well. I just worry that we don't go. We need to be streetwise as well. You know, there was a lot of worrying signs against Alkmaar away from home. I think it's because we were too open sometimes, and we just need to be that bit clever. We can still, as you say, go out and obviously play our way, and Ange will set up the way that he wants to. And going by the formation, I think that speaks volumes as well. The fact that he's kept both Rogic and Turnbull in, my God. But that's that the attacking sources, which obviously is a key element of Ange ball. So that has to be, you know, I say it time and time again, you play to your own strengths. Don't try to play or whoever the opposition, you play to your own strengths. You have to, like I say, it's being streetwise. It's a European tie. It's not hosting, you know, a 10th or 11th place side in the SPFL at Paradise. So got to be clever, and when you need to be tight at the back, got to be tight at the back. But by all means, go out and attack, because that's what Celtic do best.
What do you think, Colin? Away from home in Europe against a really good side, a strong side. Mm-hmm. Is it a wise move, or do you take your hat off to Ange Postecoglou for staying true to his vision?
I don't know if we'll be able to tell until the game actually starts, because you're thinking, your heart's going, yeah, it's the right thing to do, it's the Celtic way to play football. But if you're 2 or 3 down after 10 minutes, you're going, no, it's not, it's the wrong thing to do, change it, scrap it all. But to be fair to him, he does stick to his philosophy. I remember when we went away to the Danish side earlier on in the season, and we were speaking about protecting the 2 at the back, which at the time was Welsh and Murray. Mm-hmm. And we're saying you need to play maybe 2 sitting midfielders in there to protect them. And he didn't do that. And for probably about 60, 70 minutes, he was proved right, because we were getting forward, we created the chances, we scored the goal. And if it wasn't for the fact that we had such a young squad going into extra time, then that's a tie we could have probably won. That was the Midtjylland game. But that's a step, like tonight's a step up from that. You're playing guys that have been linked with big moves over Europe. You've got Fekir, and that's Fekir, not anything else before the end of the season, playing in that sort of number 10 role for Betis, who was expected to go to any number of the big teams around Europe and then stayed at Betis. So they've got a well-structured team. Manuel Pellegrini lines his team up very well. You look at it when he was the manager of Man City, you look at it at any team he's managed, they're always very hard to beat. And going forward, they've got that bit of flair. Look, we're kind of matching fire with fire tonight by going for it. It's just a case of how strong can our defence be to hold them out, and can we take our chances up the other end. I seen a stat the other day that Ayeti had 15 touches of the ball on Saturday and scored twice. I'll absolutely take that again tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Colin was talking about being strong at the back. How strong do you think we're looking at the back, Amy? I mean, that was the biggest concern at the beginning of the season. Wafer thin kept calling them. Anthony Ralston was the first choice right back, much to the annoyance of many Celtic fans, but I think he's turned a lot of us around. We've got Juranovic out of position as such on the left-hand side, but it also gives us the option of bringing Monty back into the left back, Juranovic on the right, Jota out left. So they can be quite fluid depending on how it goes. How confident are you looking at that backline tonight?
Confident? I don't know. There's still worries. Starfelt is ever improving, there's no denying that. But I still feel Stephen Welsh was really hard done by. I got pelters last week because I said he was undroppable. And maybe undroppable wasn't the right word. But I just felt that he, it's all about the development. And it was obviously for the Ross County game at the weekend. I didn't think that he deserved to have been dropped. There's no denying it. Cameron Carter-Vickers came in, done well. He's a unit. He's definitely bringing some stability into that back line. But I feel it was a little bit harsh on Welsh because he's done everything right this season, perhaps bar that one error against Rangers. Obviously lost his man, but it was a great header from Hollander as well. I don't know. I had a sneaky feeling we might have went for the three of them tonight. I thought we were maybe going to completely change it up. Kept that one a bit quiet in case this happened, and obviously it never transpired. But I've just outed myself. So it's still a little bit shaky. I'm just worried about Starfelt. I really am, because I just feel he gets nullified a bit too quick. But perhaps in the game against Alkmaar, it kind of happened as well that when he's asked to just quite simply defend, that's actually what he's maybe best at.
Yeah, I think. See, when you look at it, I think Starfelt, when he doesn't have to think about it, that's when he's at his best.
Absolutely.
See, when the ball comes flying in from crosses, he just throws his head out there and clears it. When he's got the ball at his feet, and that's what we were told he was at his best at, with the ball at his feet, he just doesn't look that comfortable. So if it's a case of them just throwing balls into the box, I'd expect Starfelt to clear most of them all night. And then again, you've got Carter-Vickers, as you quite beautifully described him, Amy, as a unit playing alongside him. So it all depends. If they go at us and they know to kind of play the ball in behind, then I think we'll struggle. If they keep putting some crosses in, I'd expect them to kind of sweep them up all night.
You talking about the unit, how impressed were you, Colin, with his ball work? He seemed pretty confident and comfortable with the ball at his feet. Yeah,
definitely. He played that kind of 40, 50-yard pass right out to Jota on the left-hand side. And he is someone who, I think, when you look at his performances in the Championship, that's the way he's been playing. He's someone who can put himself into a tackle, but he can also play with the ball at his feet. And that's a great asset to have. But you can't have the two of them playing like that as well. You still need someone who's going to be the kind of the sweeper, the clearance, because if you get stuck with the two ball players with the ball at their feet, then you're in for a bit of trouble. I mean, when Starfelt went over the halfway line on Saturday, I felt as if he got a nosebleed and he had to go back the way. So just keep to the basics tonight. If you've got to put the ball into Rose Ed, put the ball into Rose Ed. If you've got to clear it up the park, clear it up the park. Just don't take any chances.
Absolutely. Let's bring in some of the comments from the beautiful viewers out there who are tuning in on YouTube and Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitch. And we have Ian McGinley, who is at work, but he's got his phone at least and he can get ACSOM. That is dedication for you. Well done, Ian. And Johnny Boy, who is glad that Monty is getting a start. I'm glad as well. I'm also glad that
Paul, your camera's gone.
That's all right. You can still hear me though, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Well, there'll be no complaints that the camera's gone. I will need to have that looked at. But Montgomery, if he was playing left back, I feel, simply because of his age and his inexperience, he may have been targeted. I think AZ Alkmaar targeted Ralston in the last game, and he was given a torrid time of it for a good hour. And by the way, I think he acclimatised to that, and I think he did pretty well in the end. How do you feel about Ralston coming back in, getting thrown right back into the game? Any concerns about that, Amy?
I have no qualms at all, not at all. You're wanting to bring in informed players, and I don't think just that one game off is going to really knock Ralston off his stride, or I certainly hope that it hasn't. So no, I'm more than happy to have him back. I bet Ange Postecoglou is as well, because I know it's not ideal, obviously, having Juranovic on the wrong side, but it's a better source out there than anybody else, or perhaps, obviously, Liam Scales was the other option. But there's something, obviously, not quite ready there yet. But I'm more than happy with it. I've been a big advocate of Ralston. I'm still going to find that episode where I said it, but I have found the tweets all those months ago when I was mocked in January or February, whatever it was. So I am always going to advocate for Tony Ralston to be in that starting 11.
Yeah, and you did say it because I remember it well, and you should find it because we're always pulled up quickly enough if we get it wrong. Now, Reaperman, 1969, McCarthy should have been in starting squad instead of Soro. That was one of the dilemmas, I guess, and I think what he's done, and when you look at the bench as well, and you look at the actual Europa League squad, Colin, he's gone for, bizarrely enough, the most experience, even though some of the guys in there have never kicked a ball for Celtic. And I think that when you were looking at the Soro or McCarthy, he's gone for the safer option in regards to the experience of playing for Celtic, at least. But does it concern you at all that we haven't seen that much in McCarthy, or is that to be expected due to the fact that he's not got that pre-season under his belt? Yeah,
and it's the same reason you're not really seeing much of Giakoumakis yet either. It's because he's not really kicked a ball. With McCarthy, I thought the sharpest I've seen McCarthy was that sort of cameo that he had on Saturday, but he's still building up to that. He's not there yet. He's got a 4-year deal. I'm sure as we get in towards October and that, we'll see him back into the side, just as we see the team coming onto the park in that third kit, the pink and white, white and green number. It's grown on me massively.
It's better looking on the park being worn. It's one of the ones that you didn't think it looked that great, but then you see it actually being worn by, man, saying that, I'm thinking of Kyogo when I think of that jersey, so of course it's going to look good.
But Paul Squire, the same as when I wear it.
Thank you very much to Paul Squire pointing out that the prediction was all there on Tuesday's show, so if you want to dig that one out as well, it's there. Now, we're talking about tonight, and Robert has been very positive about tonight. He's confident of getting a result. We've heard all the noise, I think it's called these days, around the fact that we haven't got a competitive win on Spanish soil. I think that would be one of the real turn-ups this season if that was to happen, Amy. But can we get anything? I keep banging on about 10 points being a target in a Europa League group to try and get through. Some people who are been in the comments over the last few days have almost written that off. Do you think, it's a possibility? Can we get anything out of tonight's game?
We've got to have a little bit of positivity, and I'm known to be the pessimistic one, but you can't go into it thinking that we can't even get a point. I'm with you that I believe that 10 is that magical number. What a shock! But you've got to go into again. Wow, again. But if you're taking stuff from the home games, you hope they take care of themselves. And then that 1 point away from home, I think it's massive that Celtic's first game's actually away from home as well. It takes a little bit of the pressure off. But you just got to go into this. It's a free hit tonight for Albion Ayeti. There's no other options. So he's got to take this opportunity. This is almost a free hit as well for Adam Montgomery to be playing that a little bit further forward. So there's freedom tonight. Go out. It's not one of these, it's Celtic need to get a point. They need to. There's no need. There's no necessity. So it is a free hit in that sense. And I'd like to see Celtic just go out. And, a point would be an absolutely fantastic way to kick off this group because it's no mean feat going across. And as you say, all these statistics and numbers that Celtic have never won on Spanish soil, all that, blah, blah, blah. It's all just the noise. So nullify it and the rest will take care of itself.
What is it? Is it 53, 54 years since we last won in Spain? Something like that? Something like that.
So we beat Real Madrid in the Stefano testimonial. Was that the game you're talking about?
I think it must be, yeah.
Yeah, 1967. 67 it was, 54 years ago.
54 years, yeah.
Yeah, that was the game. Colin, I was just about to remind you of my prediction earlier on this week where I said I predict not a score, but that Celtic will score first. And then I was talking to JP, who was at the PSG game, where Celtic scored first. What kind of prediction are you going to make tonight, Colin?
I'm hoping it's not very similar to JP's, where we scored first and then conceded 6. But if I'm being optimistic, the best I think we can get tonight is a 1-1 draw. But I do have a feeling that Betis will take the points tonight.
We'll go for the 1-1 draw every day of the week, Colin. We'll be back at half-time. Thanks, everybody, for getting involved in the comments section. Thank you to Colin Watt and Amy Canavan for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.